Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wayback Chronicles podcast. My name is Steve McKelkey, and I'm here with my lifelong friends Keith Abbott and Noel Kirsch. As you recall in this podcast, we cover all the greatest events from 1970 to current.
The Wayback Time Machine selected 2008 as the year we're going to be focusing on for this next series of episodes. And for this specific episode, we're going to be talking about movies of 2008. So Keith, take it away.
Thanks, Noel. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, definitely excited about talking about the movies of 2008. There were a lot of really interesting movies and things that happened this year that are really fun to talk about. So I'm going to preface this with something that kind of impacted both the movie and the television industry, and that was a strike that was going on with the Writers Guild and between 2007 and 2008. And thankfully,
more strikes.
Yeah, more strikes. But thankfully, it impacted at this point more television that I'll cover later than it does movies. And so if you recall what I drew with the Wayback Time Machine, and when Steve drew the names, I was drawing both movies and TV. So what we're deciding to do is I'm going to cover movies in this episode. And then so you don't have to hear my voice that much in a row, we're going to let Steve and Noel cover one of the other topics, and then I'll come back and cover TV later. So this prefaces with this writer's strike, but the good news is it didn't really impact the movies so much because, as you might figure, movies were pretty much already written and almost completed by the time the movies were released, right? So it didn't impact them so much, but for future episodes, if we go deeper into 2009, 2010 and the like, we can talk about how this may have impacted future things. But for this year, there were some really neat movies. And so what I thought I would do is first start off with the highest grossing films in order from 10th to 1 of the year. And then what I also wanted to talk about were some interesting things that were other movies of note that were released month by month, because I really saw some movies in here that maybe weren't top 10 movies grossing, but they were really neat movies that I really enjoyed. And then finally, just talk about a couple of other things of impact that happened and some of the actors that may have left us that year. So that's kind of what I'm going to be digging into. Before I get started, though, just want to remind everybody of our social media platforms. And also, we've had a lot of asks and feedback to do a YouTube channel. So we now have a YouTube channel, and our videos are actually closed captioned. So everything that we are saying, if there's anybody that's hard of hearing, you can actually read along with us as we do our podcast. And so we're very excited to have you, and hopefully that this will even garner a larger audience that can enjoy these nostalgic trips with us. So welcome. If anybody has the need for that, we welcome you and would love to hear your feedback. So with that being said, let's talk about the highest grossing films released in 2008. So we'll start with number 10. And number 10 was an animated kind of endeavor from 20th Century Fox. It earned about $154 million domestically, and that was Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who. The next number 9 movie is definitely something that I'm sure all of us saw. It was the second the second episode or the second movie in the Daniel Craig era of James Bond movies, Quantum of Solace.
Quantum of Solace.
Yes. And so this is the follow-up after Casino Royale, where he's still kind of grieving over the loss of his lifelong love and has to deal with that, as well as, do the things James Bond does. So $168 million was earned for Sony as the distributor on that movie.
I've watched a lot of the Bond movies, but I don't think I've watched many of the Daniel. Is it Daniel Craig?
Yeah, Daniel Craig.
Yeah. I saw a couple of his, but I didn't watch. I haven't seen all of them. I didn't see Quantum of Solace.
They're really cool because they kind of go back to the roots of how Bond started, and it's not so much gadgetry as it begins, and it kind of gets into that towards the end. But it's really a neat take, a fresh take on how James Bond is, instead of the 1950s and 60s, which we probably couldn't accept today with some of the things that went on then.
Yeah,
but it was still really good. So. So going back on number 8 at 180 million domestically was DreamWorks' Madagascar 2: Escape to Africa. Dreadfully, I guess I should say, as a man, I saw the 7th grossing film of the year, 192 million. I will give you a hint to see if you can tell which painful movie series, but a rapidly followed movie series after a book was about 2 competing factions, wolves and vampires.
Oh,
right?
Gosh, man.
This was the one that started it all.
Yes. My wife I've seen that movie. I've seen that series. Yeah. What's it called again?
The Twilight series.
Yeah. Yes. Twilight.
So
I tried to block that out.
Oh, I unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how
Dude.
I'm going to say fortunately because I'm so grateful. But yeah, having three women in my house, I had to suffer multiple times through all of these movies, and
Mm,
it's I guess it's a good it's a movie.
careful. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I mean,
Same.
you got the Team Edward, Team Jacob, the Wolves versus the all of this stuff, but
You even know the names.
it was I tell you, it
Do you
was
have a
things
poster?
things of not. I'm sure there's at least 7 in my house somewhere.
There's probably a Twilight
Yeah.
keychain somewhere in your
Oh,
house, isn't there,
without
Keith?
a doubt. I'm sure the book series and everything's in here. But anyway, for better or worse, that was a massive fan craze. People were rabidly passionate about who they were, if it was Jacob or Edward or whoever it was that Bella is going to, be with and all these kind of things. And yes, my daughter's dog is named after the
Oh,
actress in Twilight. So this tells
oh,
you the pain I'm
wow.
still living with. The next one I absolutely love. 277 million domestically released through DreamWorks. Jack Black was the main character's voice in Kung Fu Panda. Did you all ever see this?
I'm
Have
over
you seen
5.
Kung Fu Panda? Oh my gosh, it's hilarious to see this big gangly panda. I mean, think about Jack Black, all right, and think of him
Yeah.
as a martial arts expert, right? And that's what you're getting in this movie. But it is so well done, and Jack Black shines as the lead in this role, and it's a fun ride. It's hilarious. It's got some really good dark scenes for an animated movie too, but it's great. So if y'all haven't seen that, when no one's around, just watch it. It's hilarious. It really is. It's just it's a great show. A couple of sequels after that, but the original one was absolutely the best.
Jack Black made some good movies.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
has.
um, the one I'm trying to think of, what is the one? The one where he can't see the girl is like pretty in his eyes, but everybody
Oh
else sees
yeah,
differently. Whatever.
Shallow Hal.
what
Was
is
that
it?
Shallow? Yeah,
Shallow
Shallow
Hal.
Shallow
Hal.
Hal. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Oh
Seen
man.
that one. Seeing that one's pretty good.
Yeah,
Oh.
Bernie.
He's a good actor.
So now we're going into the top 5 of 2008, and the next movie is another animated movie. It was by Disney, 223 million, just under 224 million, and it was the movie Wall-E.
Oh,
Did you all see Wall-E?
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Okay,
Yep.
so
4 for
it,
6.
it
I don't know. In
you're,
2008, I wasn't at a movie theater.
I am grateful you didn't draw this one. That's all I can say. So
Yeah, yeah.
so Wall-E was a really interesting movie. The thing that really stuck out to me is the sound effects producer was named Ben Burt, and he was also the sound effects producer for some of the most of the Star Wars movies. One of the most amazing sound effects artists in the world. I mean, bar none. I mean, you think about the sounds of a lightsaber and the sounds of Darth Vader's breath or anything like that. That's Ben Burt that created this. Well, the first 20 or so minutes of this movie is essentially it's a silent film. There's no speaking, there's no words, there's nothing. It's just what's going on with this little robot Wall-E and the environment around him. And but you're completely captivated. The way that he did the sound and the way the personality of this little robot Wall-E and the things that around him interact. It's, if y'all haven't seen it, I mean, the first 20 minutes is just, it's stunning because you hear about this and you're like, somebody tells you later, there was no talking with the first like half of the movie almost, and you're like, wow, that's not the first half, but the first 20-25 minutes, and it's crazy, but it's just a great movie. There's a little bit of a I guess an earthy undertone or an agenda with it, where the earth is so corrupted with junk and garbage that they have to launch a spaceship into space, and they're just waiting for the earth to be able to be habitable again, and this ship is supposed to bring them back, right? And so it's all about how Wall-E helps create this moment, right? So it's really a cool show.
interesting.
Yeah, number 4 on the list is 227 million, almost 228 million, was a Sony distributed movie. It was a Will Smith movie called Hancock. Did you all see this movie?
I
Okay.
finally saw one of these. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm proud of you, man. So yeah, Hancock was like, he was the anti-hero, right? So, he had superpowers, but he didn't want to use them for good until he just absolutely had to. So it was a really interesting spin, especially knowing that superhero movies were starting to become a big deal, starting really this year. And I'll get to that soon. but that was interesting to have a spin on somebody that was kind of an anti-hero, and Will Smith did a really good job of it. And then the next two, number 3 and number 2, were pretty interesting movies. 300, they were neck to neck as far as their gross. So 317 million was the number 3 spot. This is something that it hurts me to say, but it's still one of those movies that the actor and the character is a legend, and that was Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
It had such a really cool premise because it was set in the Cold War era. And so it was basically after the events of all of the Nazi Germany and everything, which the first few movies were based on. And you could definitely tell, I mean, Indiana Jones had aged and the years had aged with them. So it was really appropriate. The
Harrison Ford?
Yeah, Harrison Ford.
Okay.
The coolest scene of them all, I think, was kind of right at the beginning of the movie because he actually, something happens where he's trying to find something and he gets on these little sled cars. And this is actually something that happens. There's a museum in Alamogordo, New Mexico that has these sled cars. And it was basically speed endurance tests to try to break the sound barrier. So these people would pilot these rail cars that had rockets behind them. Well, anyway, so he gets on, somehow he ends up on one of these rocket cars and he throws them into the street. And then the next thing you know, he's found this town. And so he's just trying to figured out what's going on in this town. And he's walking around and he's like, what is going on? There's nothing but mannequins in here. There's nothing but dolls. Nothing's real. The TVs are on. These buildings are real buildings, but they're nothing but mannequins. And about that time, you hear the air raid siren go. They're testing a freaking nuke. Right.
Oh,
so he's got to figure out how to survive a nuke. And he ends up like gutting out a lead refrigerator and hiding in it while the atomic bomb goes off and this thing blows him miles away. It's hilarious. It's a great scene. But the rest of the movie takes a turn for the worse because it goes into like alien skulls and weird stuff. It was just really sad and anticlimactic, but I won't spoil it for folks. But it was a great start to a movie that could have gone so much better, but it just kind of fizzled. So. Yeah.
Directed by Spielberg.
Yes.
The music by John Williams still.
The whole thing. I mean, even Marion from the first movie was back as his love interest. And I mean, and they had a son who was played by Shia LaBeouf. And so they were, and really all of the thought was that they were going to maybe transition him to be Indiana Jones, but it didn't happen. So I don't know, but it just didn't work out the way I think they wanted it to. But anyway, that's okay. The next movie and I think one of the best movies, in my opinion, of the last 20 years is at 318 million, just about a million more than Indiana Jones. And that was the original Iron Man movie. Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau directed it.
Seen that.
Oh man, I tell you, that was kind of what kicked off this whole Marvel infatuation. And I'll talk about another one that came out a couple of months later. Didn't make the top 10, but it came out a couple of months later that was kind of helped piggyback Iron Man and why Marvel is kind of still so strong as it is today. But I tell you, the way they did that movie was so fantastic. And just how they made it something, because the comic is kind of older, and how they turned it into a modern day story with terrorism and everything, and how that happened was pretty interesting. So great movie.
It's a great it was a great first movie in a series of really great movies. Like they did take it back. I mean, because like the first Iron Man, the first suit that he makes is like very rudimentary, and you can kind of see it evolve into the later, whereas all it is Stark is out there researching and trying to figure out how to make it better and stuff, and so it just progressively better as the episodes go on. But
it's true.
It's really cool. That's a really good movie. If you've never seen any of the Marvel movies, definitely encourage you to go watch them. And my wife when these Marvel movies started hitting the theaters, I was taking the kids. She didn't want to go. And then I convinced her to go to one of them, and then she became hooked. Like we had to go back and watch all the way back to Iron Man and all the way up to the very beginning and stuff. Like she got really hooked into them. So they have broad appeal to a lot of different people. So
they really do.
It's pretty cool.
There's a storyline for everybody in the Marvel movies, I think, and so it's a good the way that they have kind of interweaved storylines and kept people hooked. Even as far, I think even Iron Man was the first one that had the post credit scene, right? So
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
those kind of things that were involved and introduced in these movies, really, really cool. So
Yeah.
the last movie really blew all the others away. 200 million more than the rest of them, was $533 million, and that was the second, I guess, sequel, or the first sequel of the Batman series with Christian Bale, and that was The Dark Knight. And that
Yeah.
movie in itself was fantastic, but the Academy Award winning performance by Heath Ledger, as the Joker, just completely solidified this movie. And it probably didn't help that he accidentally passed away due to, I think it was due to overdose, if I remember correctly. And before the movie was released. And so I think everybody going to see, and Heath Ledger, I don't know if you've seen some of his movies, but there, A Knight's Tale, if y'all haven't ever seen that, that's one of the best Heath Ledger movies out there. This one obviously doesn't hold shadow to anybody, but the Dark Knight was a great movie. It was a great culmination of a Joker versus Batman fight with who I think were some of the best performances of both of those roles. I love Michael Keaton and all of those folks, but I really liked the Christian Bale roles. Steve, now you're a huge Batman fan. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm the purist, so I prefer the Michael Keaton version. But I still think it's great. A few years back, he was a commencement speaker at, I can't remember the college, but he goes, I have 2 words for you, 2 words that will live with you forever. I'm Batman.
I remember that.
Of course, the crowd goes nuts.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so yeah, that's who I think I am when I put my Batman mask as Michael
Batman.
Keaton.
Why not? Yeah, Michael Keaton was I still think he's the best, but Christian Bale was a really good Batman role, I thought.
Yeah,
so,
Dark Knight was so great, and you're right. Heath Ledger was just legendary in that in that movie. And I remember just feeling a little sad watching it, knowing that he was no longer with us, and it was just a little weird that we were watching his last masterpiece, basically.
Yeah, and he ended on a high note too.
He was really good. You ever seen that movie, 10 Things I Hate About You?
Yes. That's kind of what got his start, wasn't it?
It was in 99. I don't know if that was, I guess it was kind of early on in his career.
Yeah.
Great movie. I mean, I've seen that one. I'd hate to admit how many times I've seen that. I blame that one on my wife, Linda, too.
Oh, yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Not your wife, mine.
Yeah. it's a girl thing, but it's a good movie. But yeah, it was $500 million.
$500 million. Like literally 218 more than the last one. It looks like something big like that. So it's crazy, but it's a lot. It's a lot, and it was a great movie and well deserved to have that title.
Out of the top 10, I saw 3: Twilight, Iron Man, and Dark Knight. Like that's pretty sad. I wouldn't watch them very many movies. Of course, a lot of those are animated, which I didn't do a lot of animated movies. But
other movies in note, and let's talk about something that probably your wife, Noel, and if your wife Steve has gotten to this yet, I won't be surprised if he does. But the other movies of note that released in January: 27 Dresses. Did you all have to watch this show?
Yes, I've seen this.
This is one of my wife's favorite shows ever. And so it's definitely a staple. And I think we own it on every format, including probably the film in our house.
I don't even know what it's about, but my wife knows well enough that there's no way she could put me through that. And
it's about a girl that is always a bridesmaid, never bride. And she's been to 27 different weddings. She has a closet full of 27 bridesmaid dresses, and so that's the whole premise behind it. But
I'm out.
The 4th installment of Rambo came out that month too. I didn't see that one. Did y'all see just Rambo? I didn't see this one.
No, I think
Rambo.
There was like too many.
Not First Blood. Not It was Rambo
like
4. So it was just called Rambo.
I didn't see that.
I think I
saw Rambo 1 and 2, and I'm like, okay, it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah. February, and there's a lot of movies. So listeners, anyone I haven't mentioned that you like, please let's hear them in the comments and Facebook. Yeah, I know I've missed a lot. February, there was a movie called Jumper and that was with Hayden Christensen. It was kind of a neat thing where he could kind of port himself different places to try to solve things going
Like
on. So pretty good
Quantum
show.
Leap.
Quantum Leap
Was it?
type of deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good
Did you ever watch
show.
that show?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that show a lot.
Yeah.
I love that show,
Yeah.
man.
What
Ziggy, his
aren't they
friend
coming
Ziggy.
out with? Isn't there a new remade version of it right now? Or
I
some?
sure hope so.
I think there has been in the last year or so come out with a new
Oh,
one.
wow.
That was what a cool premise of a show. So in March, the movie, this was a great movie with Martin Lawrence and Raven Simone, the Road Trip. Did you? Or
Oh,
College
yeah,
Road
yeah,
Trip?
yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Yes,
the college one, the college road trip where they
yes,
hilarious movie.
That is good.
So April, there was a movie with Jodie Foster called Nim's Island. This was a movie that my kids really enjoyed. It was about, she was an author that took a pen name of a guy. And so this girl was trying to solve the mystery of her parents or something like that. So she was reaching out to this person who she thought was this big hero. Well, it turns out this lady that's like scared of everything. She's a massive introvert, hides in her home, but has this pen name of this great person. Well, she has to get out of her box to try to help this person solve this mystery. It's really good. After many years of development hell, they finally created a movie, Speed Racer, and it was by the Wachowski brothers. I guess they were brothers still at that point, where the ones from The Matrix. It was kind of a disappointment. I watched it. It wasn't anything of note, but it was just, they finally released something out of that animated movie show that was so popular.
See, I typically when they release something like that, where I'm like, I really like the original, I wait to see if other people that like think like me watch it and they go, it's worth going to see before I go see it.
Yeah,
and I think the reviews are like, and I'm like, I just want to leave Speed Racer in my brain the way it is.
That's, and you did the right thing. Let me just assure you. So, the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian came out. I didn't watch that one. It was a very biblical story with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and all of that. It was a second version. My kids really loved it. I don't remember watching all of it, but they really enjoyed it. The other one that was really good that month, it was just 2 months after Iron Man came out, was The Incredible Hulk. And it was the one, it was the one that had Edward Norton as the role. And to me and my son Hayden, this is the Incredible Hulk movie. Like, this one stands out as, in our opinion, the best. We love it. So we're excited about remembering that one very much. In fact, the funny thing was that they had these, do you know those Mexican drinks that come in like citrus and lime and orange? I think Doritos. Yeah. So the way that this one guy gets infected is Edward Norton is actually hiding in a South American factory, and he's helping create these drinks. Well, he cuts himself, and a drop of blood gets in one of these green drinks, right? And so ever since that, and then somebody drank it and had a problem. But anyway, so ever since then, my son and I refer to those drinks as, let's get a Hulk drink. So that's what to this day we still call those Hulk drinks. So good times.
And now next time I'm in the grocery store and I see the green Doritos, I'm going to think about the Hulk drink.
There is not a time, if we see those, we buy them. It's just a have to do. So anyway,
got to have a Hulk juice.
Oh, absolutely. The next movie, Get Smart. Get Smart was a remake of the television show. In July, the movie, the Brendan Fraser movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth, came out. This is notable. It was a movie that was based on an old story. But what was really interesting about it is this was still kind of the period where 3D was still kind of popular. So they decided to one-up it. And this was the first film that introduced what was called a 4DX experience. And so what that basically is, it's motion effects in a specifically designed or specially designed cinema. And the first one that happened was in Seoul, South Korea. And it used tilting seats to convey motion, wind, sprays of water, sharp air currents, probe lights to mimic lightning, fog, scents, and other theatrical effects. So this was the first movie, and obviously it didn't catch on because there's not every theater in the U.S. world that does this. But it kind of a neat concept of how can we really engulf the people who are watching this movie into a really all immersive experience. So kind of interesting. The last one I've got to tell a story about that released in July, and that's the movie Step Brothers. Okay.
Oh yeah. Gosh.
I have to tell a story on myself about what a horrible date.
Did you meet one of the stepbrothers?
No,
Keith?
no, I did not.
You didn't
It
know
was
it?
a much worse story than this. So
Are
That was
you
Will
sure?
Ferrell. I didn't know that.
There's some curly haired dude. He's real tall. And he's got
Yeah,
messed up teeth.
yeah,
Real funny.
yes, no, and then he likes to play drums with a part. But anyway, so
More cowbell.
yeah, cowbell. No, this I have to say, this is, I don't know why I'm married to the lady that I am right now, because the first date I ever went on, okay,
You took her that?
I took her to see Step Brothers. I did. I had a choice. There, we were going to the drive-in, and we had a brand new drive-in that opened in our area, and there was a choice between The Dark Knight and Step Brothers. And I'm like, she's not a comic book person. She doesn't care about it. So I'm like, I'm not going to make her suffer through that. So I'm like, oh, this is a good Will Ferrell funny thing. Oh my God. Halfway through it, I'm like, I am so sorry. Let's just go home. I'll take so somehow, and there was a pause in our relationship for a good solid year after the first couple of dates. So, and somehow she decided to give me another chance. So thank you, honey, for that.
Did you at least make it to the boats and hose part of the movie?
Do what?
You at least make it to the boats and hose part of the...
we I think she decided and said, Lo, you're doing this. We're suffering through the whole thing. I think she made me agonize through the whole movie. It was bad.
It was meant to be.
The teabag drum set experience, I was done. I was like, I'm gonna go get popcorn right now.
I gotta tell y'all my first movie story with Linda whenever we were first dating. So our very first date, we went to the restaurant Harrigan's in Lubbock. I have to tell y'all, even if, okay, so I'll back up a little bit. I went to the UC to go get some cash out of the ATM machine, put in my ATM card, enter in my code, and came back NSF, no cash. And I didn't, what the hell does NSF actually mean? I don't know. It's insufficient funds, by the way. So I had like $4 in my account.
Oh no.
So I'm sitting here, Linda's out in the car in front of the UC waiting for me to get cash to take her on a date, our first date ever. And I've got no money. And I'm like, oh, dude, what do I do? So I had a checkbook and I wrote checks. So we went to Harrigan's and ate, and then we went to the Omni Theater and went to the theater and wrote a check. And I swear, I feel so bad telling this story, but it happened. And she has never let me hear the end of it. But we were in the movie theater. We sat down, and the lady sitting next to us saw we were on a date, and she offered me a mint. And Linda goes, "I'll take one, but he won't need one tonight." You know?
Oh no!
Oh man! Holy cow! All right, so you're already agonizing. She makes it worse. Holy cow.
My gosh!
So that was the way our relationship started. So
Oh my gosh, that's
Keith,
legendary.
I feel your pain, bro.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and they must have liked us for some reason, because they're still here.
They're still here. 25 years later,
Yeah,
she's still
gosh,
here.
it's
So.
awesome.
Anyway.
Me and Robin's first day was also a movie, but it was at her aunt's house, and I brought over Thai food.
Oh man!
But nothing awkward. She got to pick the movie, so that was.
So you're safe there at least.
That's safe.
I've
See,
learned
you're
that if
smart.
she picks a movie, then we always have a great time. If I pick the movie, then I don't get to pick the next 10 movies after that. So.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's funny. Well, we're getting long in this episode. So just the last second half of the year, there were movies like Tropic Thunder that came out. Star Wars: The Clone Wars was a movie that started a very long animated series there. Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf, that was kind of more about technology spying on you everywhere you move. Mm-hmm. One of the I've got to talk about two more. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This was a movie about it was the son of a German officer at a concentration camp that had a relationship with a child that was on the other side of the concentration camp. Oh, God. Intensely awesome movie. I guarantee y'all need to see that.
And
not a date movie.
Yeah. So it's called The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Okay.
Yeah. And the last one that I want to bring up, because it's a holiday movie, and I think it's one of the funniest Christmas movies ever, is Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon. Have you all seen this movie?
I have not seen that.
Gosh. Are you sure that? Yeah. The one that sticks out to me so much is they're looking through like old pictures. Like Vince Vaughn is with Reese Witherspoon's mom in this movie, right? And they're looking at pictures of her when she's younger. And there's this one picture, and he goes, "Is that really her? Are you sure that's not a boy named Bjorn?" And I just, for every day, it just cracked. I think of that periodically. I just start laughing. So anyway, but there was a lot of good movies that year. It really was. It was a fun year for movies. And obviously we know 2008 was a tough year. So it is very nice that there were some really fun, happy shows and some good shows to watch during that time. So let's just go kind of summarize with who the Academy Awards announced were the best of the best. The Academy Awards were the 81st Academy Awards in 2009 to celebrate 2008. And The Curious Case of Benjamin Button received the most nominations with 13. And Slumdog Millionaire came in second with 10. And actually, Slumdog Millionaire won 8 awards, the most of that year, that included Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. A show called Milk, which I didn't see, won the Best Original Screenplay and Best Actor for Sean Penn. There was a show called The Reader. Kate Winslet was the Best Actress winner for that. I didn't see that one either. And then we already mentioned the Best Supporting Actor was Heath Ledger for Dark Knight. Best Supporting Actress was Penelope Cruz for a show I didn't see called Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And the Best Animated Feature Film went to WALL-E. So people who passed away that year, George Carlin, one of the funniest people out there. We already talked about, he passed away, heart failure. Heath Ledger, we talked about. Paul Newman. I mean, these are some big names.
Gosh,
and I don't know if y'all remember Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac was great.
Oh yeah.
Charlton Heston passed away in 2008.
Oh, wow.
Jimmy Stewart, legendary Jimmy Stewart, passed away. A lot of legends passed away that year. So, but like I said, to sum it up, it was a really good year with some really cool franchises that were either continuing strong or launched. And like I said, I'd make fun of Twilight, but man, you talk about $1 billion franchise and launched a lot of other kind of replica movies, that followed. So, a lot of neat things happened in 2008. So thanks for letting me share this little journey with you guys.
Really good, Keith. Yeah, I think the Wayback Time Machine, Wayback Chronicles research department did a number for you.
They did. They were pretty thorough with my thoughts, so I appreciate them very much. Thanks, guys. So who's next up on the next episode?
Yeah, so next up is going to be Steve talking about 2008 music, which I can't wait to hear. I hear from my little research that I did, there's some interesting songs going on back in 2008. So can't wait to hear what you got to share with us, Steve.
Yeah, I look forward to it. And everyone, thank you for listening. And again, if we missed any movies that really stuck out to you in 2008, let us know in the comments in our social media pages. Follow us on Facebook. Give us a listen on the YouTube and see if you like that format, and let us know some feedback on that too.
Yeah, let us know how many of the top 10 movies that Keith listed, how many you've actually seen, because I had 3. Keith, Steve, how many did you have?
It was 4, but I can't even tell you if I saw those actually in 2008. So.
Right.
I know
later. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
That might be a fun poll to put up on Facebook, is how many.
Do that for sure.
So.
Did you actually see? No.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll talk to you in the music episode.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wayback Chronicles. All shows are written and produced by Noel, Keith, and Steve. Massive thanks to those who made these memories possible for us through the years. All songs, sounds, and effects have been attributed in the comments section and through links listed on waybackchronicles.podbean.com. We look forward to taking you way back again in the very near future.